Welcome back, everyone, to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Yes, we are back at it, and this time I actually wanted to do a little bit of a tutorial style video for people, because there's always some questions, and it's difficult sitting down and talking to people about nuance and a few other things like that when it comes to the game, especially given the fact that we had to basically relearn the game after version 1.7 was published. So just a little background into the game and kind of the state it is in. It is, so the last update was update 1.7. This was prior to the shutdown this past December of Game Labs Studios by their publisher Stillfront. Unfortunately, at this point in time, everything's kind of in limbo, so we don't know if a new publishing team is going, or a new development team is going to be picking up UAD and Ultimate General and all of them. So we're still waiting to see. We're hoping to hear something potentially this coming year, because as it stands right now, and this is kind of my message to the developers, and I plan on doing an independent video for this. This game, or to the publishers, I should say, not the developers, but this game has a lot of good potential, but it needs a lot of fucking work. And you could really make it good if you just fix the core issues that are with the game. I plan on doing that as a separate video, talking about some of the core issues and talking about what Stillfront could do to really amp this game up, or frankly speaking, they could, if they took the overall foundation we have here with UAD, and they could make a Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts 2, or Ultimate Admiral Carriers, or whatever they decide to call it. That would be awesome. Seeing carriers in this game would just be fucking meant. So just getting that out of the way. So would I recommend Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts to the average person right now? Yes and no. The reason being is, yes, if you are looking for a naval warfare game that kind of just is as accessible and as easy to get into compared to other naval warfare sims, UAD beats them all, period, in a story. It's very easy to learn, it's very easy to get into, and it's very intuitive. Unfortunately, the reason why I can't say completely yes is because of some of the core mechanical issues with the game. Whether it be diplomacy, ship design, the economy, just things in general that unfortunately were never solved due to, I don't want to call it malfeasance on the part of the developers, but the development team that made this game were making a game for themselves, and they were building it out just as a fun little project, and I don't think they took the development too seriously. Especially after Stillfront purchased Game Labs, it definitely became a bit of a shit show for this title. So again, do I love the game? Absolutely. Do I think it needs a lot of work? Absolutely. It's one of those things where you have to understand that if you're going to buy this game, that there are core issues that need to be addressed, that are being addressed in other mods that have continued the development. However, those mods are mods, so getting them to work is a little bit of an annoyance. And also they cater to particular interests. For example, Dreadnought Improvement Project, DIP, caters to Brother Monroe's particular interests with the game. He hates submarines, he hates mines, so he's completely stripped those out of the game. So if you are like me and enjoy having the submarine naval mine problem to contend with, it is an annoyance when they I wish they would have a DIP version that had naval mines and submarines still in it and just fucking balance the mod. I would love to see that. Now there was another mod, and I'm completely blanking. Naval Arms Race, I believe it was, Naval Arms Race, I believe is the name of the mod. Unfortunately, it's defunct. I have not heard of any development continuing on that mod, but that mod really stepped up a few things and really turned it into a pretty good situation. So, anyways, getting that all out of the way, let's start talking about, you're coming in first off the Steam page and you just bought the game. What the fuck are you doing? Okay, so all right. So change of plans. I was originally in the game, but I thought about this. They have there's a ship designer in the main menu that would just make this so much fucking easier. So we're gonna do that. So, just because it would make so much more sense. It's laughable that I did this to myself and didn't think about this. So let's go ahead and just build out our torpedo cruiser here just to get you guys sorted. 5-inch, 3-inch. And again, the reason for the 3-inch guns, the 2-inch guns, like a lot of people like the 2-inch guns, but at the end of the day, these cruisers, the 3 inches, perfectly fine. So that's just my personal thing. And then again, we're just going to use the technology that would have been available to us. I don't believe we would have had barbettes available in the start, so I'm just going to leave this, and then 2 1 1 half 1 2, max out the Citadel 2 1 2 1. All right, and boom boom boom. Now we can go ahead and max out the 3-inch guns to 3.9. If you're not sure, 3.9, if I remember correctly, is 100 millimeter. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure it's 100 millimeter. Hold on. Just because now I'm an inch to... Yeah, 99 millimeter, 100 millimeter, basically. So, yeah. Effectively the same caliber gun that you would have on what was that, the Yaguma class destroyers? I forget, but yeah. So here's your starting U.S. cruiser, and this is a early build that you're just gonna have that is easy to field and put out a lot of them. It's relatively cheap. You can just build a lot of these. Now, combat effectiveness. It's a flimsy cruiser. It's what we refer to as a protected cruiser. It's not a armored cruiser like what you would have with like the heavy cruiser line, so armored cruisers, CAs. It's not like that. It's a protected cruiser, because if it didn't have any armor at all, it'd be just referred to as a cruiser in this time period. But a protected cruiser has armor. This can soak hits from 2 and 3-inch guns pretty effectively. 4-inch and above starts doing damage. Anything 6-inch or higher is going to do catastrophic damage to it. A 6-inch shell, for example, will do a decent chunk of damage to this thing, probably knock out the engines pretty easily, so on and so forth. So it's not very well protected. But if we accelerate real quick, I gotta hit this double right here, and we come back over to the cruiser. Well, we go to the cruiser 1. So we're going forward at 5 years in gun tech, and this is where we start to see a difference in the situation. So, of course, let's go ahead and do our front tower 1 or front tower 2, which is what you should have available for your cruiser 1s, and then our rear tower 2. Let's go with our angled funnel enhanced, which this will be the standard that you will have available. And then we start to get the new setups. So as you can see right here with this 4-inch battery, this is the type of turret that you're going to be having. And as you can see, these turrets get incredibly large to the point where trying to do this, for example, is impossible. Even if you do something like this, for example, it will occlude the turret from being able to fire in a wide enough arc. So you have to make sure that your engines are not blocking your gun batteries from being able to move. Now, this is also where we get secondary turrets. Now, with these turrets, there are certain factions that will have turret designs that, are less than stellar. So if we save this design real quick, just generalistic view here, and we go over to, say, China. China, where are you? Ah, there you are. And we go ahead, yeah, fucking Chinese. And we go over to hulls, and we go to Cruiser 1. Yeah, I was playing around with stuff in this builder last time I was on here. And, well, okay, so apparently we don't have those gun batteries. Why did you switch hulls? Okay, so here we go. So as we can see here, for example, we cannot put the gun into the casemate. We have to move it outside of the casemate ever so slightly in order to accommodate the gun. So there you go. Now we can still go ahead and put on our funnels, and the guns are still able to be utilized. Now, of course, then we have the problem of, again, you only get that single battery. Again, you can do your dual battery at the rear, but you're not really getting any benefit out of this. You can do it, like it's an extra barrel, and there's a certain angle that's going to be accomplished. So if we put this here, there is a certain angle where you're going to be able to get 6 guns firing all. No, 5 guns. Sorry. You're going to be able to get 5 guns firing at a particular angle, but honestly speaking, it's just extra cost that is not all that great. So honestly speaking, I just go with a single barrel, single battery. So there you go. It's not great. It's not perfect. It's a bit of a situation. So these are things that you have to take into account when it comes to overall ship design. Now, if we jump over here to the Light Cruiser 2, now this is where we start getting a little more real estate. And it's not much more real estate, but it's a decent amount. So if we come in here, and at this point in time, you should be able to get that, but here's the problem. Yeah, we can't really fit the 6-inch gun here. Now, of course, if we have, say, the front tower 4, for example, we can, in fact, fit the 6-inch gun on the front. So if you have a high enough tower tech, you can actually accommodate that 6-inch gun. And this is where the firepower of a light cruiser starts to take off. So if we, we just have those 2 6-inch guns there, boom, boom, boom. And then at that point in time, you have to make a decision. Now, me personally, I would recommend going with something like the 5-inch battery to accommodate with the 6-inchers. This is a personal preference, but I recommend keeping the batteries as big as possible if you're able to accommodate them. And as you can see, we can accommodate these pretty well. So let's go ahead and do the enhanced funnel. Boom, boom, boom. The batteries still have good lines of fire. We have those bigger 6-inch guns. And hell, if we wanted to, we could go up to the 7-inch battery. Which, honestly speaking, this right here is a pretty brutal fucking light cruiser to go up against. Reason being is because at this point in time, this thing's able to start taking on armored cruisers pretty fucking effectively. The 5-inch batteries are, at closer ranges are going to be able to penetrate that belt armor, and then at shorter ranges or at longer ranges, those 7-inch guns are going to hit like a fucking freight truck. And at short range, the freight truck just becomes even more violent. So you can do that. Me personally, I don't like going 7-inch on my on my light cruisers. I prefer going 6-inch on my light cruisers, simply from a rate of fire perspective. The more, due to the stability stat, which we'll get into the individual stats here in a second, but due to the stability stat being as low as it is, and yes, that is a low stability stat, it just creates a situation where, do I really want to have a bigger gun, or do I want a gun that fires faster? In this case, I want something that fires faster. And the Russians actually have a hull that exemplifies that perfectly. So let's jump over to the Russians. And this is the thing I'm trying to give you an idea of, is that you really have to understand that each of these hulls are going to be doing different things. So we've come here to the experimental scout cruiser. This ship hull is one of my favorite hulls. Now, me personally, I put it to 25 knots. I do not max it out, and there's a reason behind that. Because it's already fucking bleeding fast. For this era, with this speed, this is insane, especially given the tech levels. So if we go ahead and we put on that, we put on this. Is that backwards? I feel like that's backward. Yeah, it was backwards. And then we'll just do that. And then we will go ahead and throw on, hold on, I gotta move this a little bit. All right, cool, there we go. And then let's see if we can kill that offset as much as possible. All right, I think that's as good as we're going to get that. So, of course, you know, we have this very, very sleek looking hull. Now, mind you, this is an early modern concept. This is not a true modern cruiser. It does leave a lot to be desired. But what we can do here is we can start really playing with stuff. And what I mean is we can do some really cheeky shit. So if we take this and this, we start looking at the gun batteries. Now, at this point in time, again, fire rate is king. So we are going to go ahead with 5-inch batteries on this bad boy. And then we're going to have room to start sticking other batteries on it. Do you see the vision? Do you see the vision? Oh, it's so glorious. If you've watched my Russia playthrough, I don't believe I did it with 5-inch guns. I believe I did it with 4-inch guns. It might have been 5-inchers, but I just don't remember. But the point is that this thing is bloody fucking fast, and putting just a ridiculous number of guns on here. And mind you, you can increase the number of guns. However, once you know, your pitch is already 50%, we're trying not to flip the boat. So, generally speaking, this is going to basically be the maximum that you can obtain. Now, you can improve the arcs of fire of these guns quite a bit. For example, like, you know, these front guns, we can play around with the arcs a little bit to make them even better. You know, so on and so forth. So we can do stuff like this and just really give those centerline guns some great arcs to play with. And this thing it's just going to be speeding through the water, fucking just gatting everything. And because it's firing 5-inch guns, most cruisers of both the protected and armored variety from this time period are going to be very, very, very hard pressed to effectively, and I mean effectively, combat this thing. Now, of course, this is, you know, an incredibly inefficient hull design. It is an early cruiser design that isn't all that great, but as a little commerce raider / fleet cruiser, it is a good little bonus to the Russian Navy. Now, of course, you can then start talking about potentially putting a couple secondary guns on it, but unfortunately, because of the engines, The engine assembly, or the funnel assembly, my bad. The funnel assembly leaves a lot to be desired, personally. These funnels are not the greatest. These are actually the same funnels that you'll encounter on destroyer hulls. So I honestly speaking, I say just stick with an entire full battery of 5-inch guns and you'll be fine, because you're getting so many guns out of this thing. It's unfucking real. Like, it's just so many. And then, of course, we start talking about the armor. Now, again, this is a protected cruiser by all rights. It's not heavily armored. The main belt maxes out at 2.5. 2.5 inches, that's going to protect you against most secondary battery shells, and it's going to protect decently against 4-inch. Decently. But nothing, like, spectacular. At close range, a 4-inch gun is still going to tear through you. And if it's a 4.7 or higher gun, that's going to hurt you even more. So, make sure to experiment and play around. Now, of course, there are plenty of cursed designs you can do. And the cursed designs, I will not be showing any of them here, because I don't feel like fucking cringing any harder than I have to tonight. Because, well, I'll include some screenshots for you guys. They're bad. They're really fucking bad. And I hate them and I despise them. And dear fucking God, you guys torture me in the Discord with those fucking ships. So, yeah. So this is a basic overview of shipbuilding. Just in general, shipbuilding. Now, when it comes to battleships, there's plenty of questions that get asked about battleships. So let's jump back over to the Americans real quick, and let's start talking about battleship setup and design, because there are a lot of questions that people have. Which is the most effective way to set up battleships? And first, you have to understand what kind of battleships you're looking at. So when you start as the Americans, the first battleship you start with is the small battleship. And this might look like a modern hull to a degree, but no, this is what we refer to as an ironclad battleship. These are actually they predate pre-dreadnoughts. Like, these are old. Frankly speaking, not really worth it, but at 82,000, you start with, actually, let's go back to 1890. So you start with, of course, the small battleship here, and, of course, you start with 8,200 tons. This is the biggest you can make a ship right off the rip of the Americans. So, and you can't put a lot of the bigger towers that you'll have available. You have to use your smaller towers. And you're not really going to want to put bigger guns on it. You're going to want to go the smallest possible guns on it, just because rate of fire is king in this early game. And then when it comes to the secondary battery, I like to put a bunch of 4-inch guns on it, just to give me extra fire rate, because these are effectively these are like true secondary batteries. These aren't like the good secondary batteries, ugh. And then, of course, on this hull, because, we can put 3-inch guns on it, and, we'll do it just for shits and gigs. We can put 3-inch guns on it. I don't like putting the 3-inchers on the funnels here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to be cursed, and I'm actually going to do this, just because it looks so stupid. But fuck it. It looks a lot better with these funnels. Holy shit, it looks 10 times better with these funnels. Holy shit, I've never done this. Thank God I did this. Thank God I did this. Oh my God, it looks so much better with these funnels. Holy shit, this ship looks great with these funnels. Yeah, boy. All right, well, there you go. I don't care about funnel capacity. Fuck it. we ball. I wish you could rotate funnels. You cannot rotate funnels. It's very unfortunate. But the point is that, you put on some secondaries, whatnot. This is basically what you're getting at the start. And it's a good enough ship for your needs, but eventually you're going to want to upgrade. So if we cycle through to 1895, for example, we unlock several different ships. Now, of course, with the Americans, you get the Experimental Battleship 1 and the Experimental Battleship 2. Let's just kind of talk about these hulls a little bit. So the Experimental Battleship 1 is actually kind of an interesting hull because it's actually pretty good. It's not terrible. But the problem is that there's some, as you can see, this isn't even the biggest one we can put, and we got some overlap there. And like, if gameplay is what you care about, then, this doesn't matter to you. But the problem is that, again, it's still based off of the small battleship parts. And again, we're just going to do this because it does look fantastic. Oh, it looks so good. That just looks good. That's a pretty good silhouette. But if we come here real quick, we still are, again, 9-inch batteries, use them, love them, adore them. 9-inch batteries are your king in the early game. Now, once you have Mark II 10-inch barrels, we'll be talking about those because those are very special. But yeah, so you get this hull. You're still using your smaller guns because rate of fire is king in this era. You want to be able to put lead down range. Now, what's really cool is that at this point in time, if the tech is actually in your favor, this is not common. You will have access to dual battery secondaries. And this is fucking phenomenal for 2 reasons. Because dual battery fucking secondaries are insane for this era. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, we can't put any secondaries up on the tower here. We still have to use our other things. So again, 4-inch barrels for the casement guns. And then, of course, let's go 3-inch for these bad boys up here. Boom, boom, boom. And there you go. So now, mind you, you're going to have to play around with this. You're going to have to play with speeds and weights and so on and so forth. But it definitely, it's a little more combat effective than the original design that you have. But here's the problem. It's still not the greatest ship. It's slow. It's just not a good ship. However, then you get up to the Battleship 1, and it's still not a good ship, but look at the displacement. 16,000 pounds, or tons, my bad. And this is where you can get into some fun shit. So, if we come here, put down our towers, let's just do that, boom, 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 and then we come to funnels. You're not going to have access to these triple funnels for a while, so just ignore them for a moment. Let's just do the standard funnels because that's what I like to do. Just throw a few funnels on there, and then we come back. We come here and we throw on our main battery of 9-inch, which I take them up to 9.9. And then we start talking about the fucking secondary. Now, can we get 6? Oh wait, can we get 6-inch barrel? Oh, we can get 6-inchers in here. Do we? Well, okay. The question is, do we have? Okay, so we have Mark II 4-inch. We do not have Mark II 5-inch at this point in time. So we're gonna go with the 4-inch batteries because the 4-inch batteries are just so much more effective at Mark II. So boom, boom, boom. So we got a massive broadside battery of secondaries. We can also throw on some 2-inchers possibly. No 2-inchers. Can we put 2-inchers up here? Yes, that's where the 2-inchers go. So we do that. Just throw a few extra secondary batteries on there. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. But the point is that now you have a ship that, while not the best, it's certainly not the worst. And again, being able to crank this bad boy up to 18 knots, you actually got some decent speed going on for this era. So there you go. Now, of course, then we can look over here at the Battleship 2. I'm hoping that you guys see the pattern here, is that some of these incremental increases are actually really fucking good for you. So, of course, the Battleship 2 is an absolute hilarious ship because if you're able to do some stuff with it, again, there's some cursed things you can do with it. You can't put barbettes on it, unfortunately, but you know there's some cursed shit you can do to make it work. Yes, you can. There's I've seen people do it where they figure out a way to make it so they can have two guns on the front and I believe yes you can do it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. You can face a second gun back here, and so you attack from that direction at all times because that's the way the gun faces, and yeah, you can do some cursed ass shit. But yeah, we're just gonna keep it traditional here. But then of course we start talking about secondaries again. So we again have a plethora of secondary batteries that we can put on this bitch, and then for just even more funny, we can put even more secondaries on it. And hell, we can start putting secondaries. I like doing the whole double mounted shit once we have the better guns. You can do it earlier if you want to. I like how the newer guns look. But yeah, you can start just doing a bunch of shit there. So overall ship design stuff. Let's go ahead and exit out here. And let's get back in. So back here, we talked about ship design a little bit, learning some of the nuances, playing around, just experiment. Don't get hard glued to a design unless the design is just the peak of that design. Again, when I showed you like with the Russian experimental scout cruiser, that is basically the peak of that design where you can just have a ridiculous number of 5-inch guns and just fucking laugh at the enemy as you kill them. There are those. So let's go ahead and start talking about the other things that are going on here. So first, we're going to make a stop in politics. So there's a lot of information here. Let's go down it. So we'll use one of our opposition forces, or actually, let's find ourselves. So our government type is democracy. Now, what this does is that our parties are going to switch every 4 years. Our election cycle is every 4 years, so we have to, our parties switch up every 4 years. I do not know if it is possible to get the United States out of being a democracy. I would have to play around and experiment with it, and I will have to come back to you guys and show that off in a new video, and I think I'll do a small video talking about how to switch government types, because you can switch governments in this game. It's a convoluted and very annoying methodology to do it. There's no easy way to do it. The government, the politics, and the diplomacy in this game could definitely use a lot of work. But with our government currently, as we have the center party in government, we have certain modifiers that are associated with that. And so we have a 7% increase to naval budget, a 15% increase to GDP growth. We have a 25% increase to provincial income. We have a minus 10% or a 10% debuff to military power, which military power is our Navy's power rating, which our power rating is basically how scared are everybody of us? Like, are we the absolute weakest in the world like we are currently, or is people terrified of us like the British are right now? Once you start getting over 10, 15, 20% military power, people stop fucking with you nearly as much once you start getting up to that power rating. So keep that in mind. And then, of course, a minus 25% reduction to our unrest gain. So we gain unrest 25% slower. We have our home state population and our other populations. So our home state population is, at least this is what it seems like on the front end of things, that, it seems to be the population that you recruit your forces from. That's both Navy and Army. It doesn't seem like your colonial populations, or, your other population, it doesn't seem like they contribute to your military forces. They don't seem to contribute to your overall recruitment numbers when it comes to the naval recruits. It doesn't seem to contribute whatsoever. This population is just kind of a gauge of, hey, how many people have you taken control of since you started the campaign? That kind of just seems to be what it is. Then we have Army Force. So active land army, the Army increases and decreases, boom, boom, boom. And then this affects your overall GDP and also affects your naval funds. So the more aggressive you are towards people, the higher the level of Army recruitment, and thus you start getting reductions in your naval budget. So sometimes you'll see a random drop in your naval budget where all of a sudden you were making $1 million and now you're losing $2 million. Generally speaking, that's associated with the Army doing things. So if you see those random ups and downs, it tends to be the Army that's at blame. Then we have Army logistics. This is dependent completely on the number of provinces they have, the overall population, and the capacity of your transport, your maritime fleet, your merchant marine, and your naval power. The higher your naval power, the better your Army logistics. You have to have ships in every zone that you're operating in. You have to, it's a very convoluted number to try to understand, but generally speaking, below 25% Army logistics, your Army is useless. From 25 to 50, they will do some things, but they don't do it in a fast or expedient fashion. 50% or higher, and 50% seems to be the break point. 50% or higher, the Army is very consistently doing things. The problem is the number of forces that they can potentially bring, because at 50%, they're consistently doing shit, but do they bring enough men to the field? And then if you have the closer to 100% you are, the more men they can, every point basically above 50%, they can start bringing more and more men to the field, which is really important when you're trying to conquer inland provinces that your Navy cannot get to. So, things to keep in mind. So we have prestige and unrest. So nation's people here, they should have it listed as unrest, but for some reason the nation's people happens to be what they decided to call it. I don't know why. So unrest is a gauge of how unruly the population or how nervous the population is about your actions. If you reach 100, you either get fired or you have a change in the government. One of the two happens. If you have enough prestige, which this is a measure of your prestige, if you have enough prestige, you will not get fired, the government will change, and you'll be able to keep your job. If you don't have enough prestige, kiss your ass goodbye. Generally speaking, it seems to be a breakpoint of 300 prestige. I have not been able to get it to keep me around unless I was over 300. I think the last time I checked it, I was at like 250, somewhere in that region, and I got fired. So 300 seems to be the breakpoint in which you need to have in order to be able to flip the government without getting fired. So keep that in mind. If you want to flip a government, you have to have 300 prestige, and then you have to max out the unrest, and then you can flip a government and get a new government type. Of course, we then have provinces, ports, how many provinces do you have? How many ports do you have? And generally speaking, you can use this number to keep an eye on. I keep forgetting that this is a thing, to be honest. You can use this as a way to understand how many mine layers you need if you're playing, vanilla and you have mines. If you're playing DIP, for example, you don't need to have that because, mines are disabled anyways. And then technology. So this is the overall gauge of how technologically advanced you are compared to your peers. The nation starts off at average. Everybody has the same technology. And then the more money you're able to pump into your tech budget, the more you're able to increase your technology level. And generally speaking, your goal is to hit advanced. And if you're able to stay at advanced technology through and through and you never drop from advanced, that means you're the leader in technology. Now, there could be other nations that are advanced as well, but that means that they're keeping pace with you. Now, if you notice that you're going from advanced to average to advanced to average and you're bouncing up and down, it means you're on the cusp of catching up to the bigger powers of technology wise, but you're just there. You're right at the line and you just need to get over the line in order to truly accomplish that. Now, let's talk about the GDP and the economy. So, GDP, that is the measure of value, the gross domestic production, or as I like to call it, gross domestic government spending. But the GDP is the measure in which they determine how much money is in your country. And this is what determines your budget. Generally speaking, as you can see, the Army's budget is much, much fucking higher than ours. A lot fucking higher. And as you take more territory and expand your holdings, the Army budget is going to increase exponentially. Your budget is also going to increase, but your budget is not going to increase nearly as fast as the Army's. With one caveat. The higher your prestige, and it seems to be a democracy thing, so if your country has elections, it seems that you do get an increase to the naval budget if your prestige is high enough. I have not found the break point, but I have noticed that whenever I have an election, if I have low prestige, my budget goes down. If I have high prestige, my budget goes up. I have noticed that. So keep that in mind for future reference. So you're always going to be battling between the Army and the Navy in order to compete for money. So you want to keep yourself, ahead of the game and be able to, make sure that you're good to go and that you're making the money that you need to in order to keep the Navy in good shape. Now, GDP growth is affected by two things. One, your overall growth rate, and then also your transport, your transports, your merchant marine, and oil production. So, this is really fucking stupid because they do not explain this whatsoever. The more oil you produce, the faster your economy grows through certain bonuses that are completely on the back end. You cannot see them, so there's no way to fucking measure them. But it seems to be at least a % or two more, depending on how... And mind you, we can't see it. We don't know for sure. But there seems to be an increase to the amount of overall growth that you get when you have high amounts of oil reserve or oil production going on across the board. So the more oil you produce, the more growth you have, period, in the story. Also, this affects how expensive oil burning ships take to fuel. So if you're using coal, for example, your ships are pretty cheap to fuel. If you're using oil, they're pretty damn expensive. But if you don't have oil, they're even more expensive. So you have to keep that into consideration. There's a lot of things that affect oil production. For example, I've got the Central USA, I've got the southeastern seaboard and the eastern USA. These three provinces are producing oil right now. I'm bringing in almost a million barrels per capita. If I ally, for example, with the Canadians, I have access to the Canadian Prairies oil, and that gets added to my numbers via quote unquote trade. There's no good way to fucking to fucking gauge it. Just know that more oil better. Like, it's really that simple. More oil is better. So if you can take oil producing provinces, so like say for example, I'm playing as the United States. Oh wait, the Philippines produce oil for a short amount of time. If I take the Philippines and then we discover oil there, boom, boom, boom. There we go. Same thing down here in German New Guinea. We've got Eastern China, Northeast China, Northern China. They are producing oil. If we come over here to India, we can take their oil. If we come over here to Southern Russia, we can take their oil, etc., etc., etc. Again, oil production is pretty dope. The more oil you have, the more growth you'll have, and the cheaper your ships will be once you start using fuel oil. So just keep that in mind. Now, crew pool, that is your recruitment of personnel to staff your ships. The lower the number, the more you'll recruit. The higher the number, the less you'll recruit. It's completely based off of your overall crew training budget. Crew training will affect not just the new recruits, but also each month they will the training of your already established crews will increase. So you want to get this as high as you can, but it's not a huge priority right off the rip. You have to understand that, you have to be able to field ships. And yeah, if the people suck, they suck. Oh, well, whatever, you'll deal with it when you deal with it. But just know this is affected by crew training, and also this increases the training level of your ships across the board to trained. Trained is the highest it'll go, and then all the levels beyond that require combat in order to achieve. So, and again, you can look at all the bonuses and everything associated with different countries. Like, for example, the Empire of Japan, they gain unrest 50% faster. Thus, they are going to be incredibly, incredibly susceptible to unrest busting. This is something you can do where you just sink ships of theirs all the fucking time, and you can cause them to flip governments multiple times, and just over and over and over again, and then eventually they'll just collapse as a government. I think it's like 2 or 3 flips in a single year, give or take, and you can cause a government to collapse completely. And then at that point in time, you win the war. It's a pretty fun methodology to use. And then, of course, we have the absolute monarchies, which do not have elections, but come with some serious fucking problems. For example, China. China does not have elections at all. They have a massive unrest modifier of 75%. Their naval budget is pretty impressive, but their economy is dog shit. Now, actually, I think, yeah, they're growing. Jesus Christ, the Chinese would actually grow faster than we would right now. Oh God, that's brutal. That's fucking brutal. But because they get a GDP growth debuff of 35% and a provincial income of 25% debuff, they actually can't outgrow us, even though technically speaking they should. But because our buffs are GDP growth and province income, we actually get a bit of we can get ahead of them pretty well, even though we're growing at the same rate, or effectively the same rate, and our economy is smaller. We can basically just catch up to them and then surpass them pretty easily. Actually, looking at the GDP numbers, the French and the Italians. Oh my God. An Italian empire at 11% is fucking godlike. France being at 12%, that's not surprising. That's typical French. But I was about to say, I'm like, are we the highest on the map right now? That'd be insane at 9.3%. like the British being at 8.7 is fucking diabolical to me. The Germans 8.4, like that's diabolical. It might actually be from. I don't think it might change if I cycle the turn or actually start the game. So, anyways, we come over here to finances real quick. Just break this down. Monthly balance. This is what we're making every month. This is what we have in the bank. This is the total number of raw recruits we have available. The average training can be increased, so we can boost this to trained, and so our crews start at trained. The crew training also affects ships that you already have in the fleet. And of course, we have our government type, unrest, prestige, provinces, what ships we have available, ships active, building, repairing, refitting. Then we have our tech level, max shipyard size, and shipbuilding capacity. So shipbuilding capacity, unfortunately, and this was a big thing that they needed to change, and one of the core problems is, for example, building out a max shipyard size is kind of useless once after a certain point. Like, you don't really want to build ships past 55,000 tons. There are some hulls that can get bigger, but 55,000 is basically the biggest you want to go. And so shipbuilding capacity becomes a thing. Well, in order to get more shipbuilding capacity fast and get it in a big lump sum, you have to build max shipyard size. You will slowly gain shipbuilding capacity, and I don't know what the percentage is. You'll slowly gain shipbuilding capacity, but it's not really a lot. Like, you'll build out your shipbuilding capacity so much faster by just increasing max shipyard size, and it's really stupid. I don't like it. I don't like it. The way they have this set up is just annoying. Then again, we're annual growth, GDP minus the army budget, which is 12.1 million. Our naval budget is 47 million, which is not a fucking lot. Holy shit, that's terrible. And then, of course, we have recruit training, tech budget, transport capacity. So transport capacity directly affects growth. You want to max out your transport capacity and keep it maxed as much as possible. This also affects your ability to get the army around, plus your ability to escort the transports, which that's where, every sea tile that you're operating in, like Gulf of Mexico, Eastern North America, Caribbean, etc., you have to have ships in it, and you have to have the naval projection or the power projection overwhelming the tile in order to be able to effectively move army forces around the tiles. It's really convoluted. There's no good way to tell you what it looks like, and so on and so forth. Now, tech budget. The higher the number, the faster you research tech. The lower the number, the slower you research tech. If we just kill off tech budget right now, we come over here to research. Yeah, you see that? Yeah, that's what it looks like. If we max it out, this is what it looks like. So, yeah. But we can't afford that. So, unfortunate. But if we come down here real quick, we'll see a breakdown of our total expenses. This is just the training budgets. This is no shipyard development, transport losses, fleet maintenance, fleet repairs, fleet refit, fleet building, fleet commissioning, ammunition, fuel. Yes, you have to pay for ammunition. You have to pay for fuel. Here's the problem: is your fleet maintenance is going to be weird. It's going to go up and down in ways that don't make sense whatsoever. So you're just gonna have to kind of learn as you go. I've kind of narrowed it down to a point where during wartime, fleet maintenance increases a good chunk across the board, and basically I think that's replicating the idea, like, oh yeah, we have to have more food on board, we have to have this, we have to that, so on and so forth. But you also have to know that the older the ships, the more maintenance they will cost over time. So when you first build a ship, it's good to go. It's going to have its baseline maintenance. And then after it reaches a certain point, it seems like it's about 5 to 10 years. That seems to be the break point. Hulls start to degrade. And so the maintenance on those hulls starts to increase heavily. So just keep that in mind, that the maintenance on those older hulls, you will want to replace them at some point in time. So Just be aware of that and just keep that in mind, because if you keep, some people like to keep the older ships around just to use them for naval invasions, and that's cool. But the problem is when all of a sudden a battleship, a pre-Dreadnought 1, for example, starts costing the same amount as a Dreadnought 3 in maintenance, that's a problem. So keep that in mind. Eventually you do have to replace your ships. You have to cycle out those old pieces of junk. So jumping over to research real quick. So there are these things up here, free priorities. Assign a priority to technology category in order to focus on this research and reduce the time needed to achieve a breakthrough at the expense of slowing down the research of other technologies. Don't fucking use them. They broke priorities in the last update. 1.7 broke priorities completely. If you use priorities in the current build, it will literally put you behind tech-wise so hard it's unfucking real. And when I mean put you behind, you will be behind so spectacularly, it's unfucking real. Like, I have seen the Brits, because the Brits have a lot of economic development, generally speaking, so they're able to max out their tech budget and keep it maxed all the time. They had Mark IV 9-inch guns by the time I had Mark II 14-inch guns. Now, to give you the... Mark II. To give you an understanding of how important that is, you unlock up to, I believe it's Mark 1. Yeah, Mark 1 16-inch guns. And then up to, you have to go to Mark III 14-inch guns before you can research Mark IV 9-inch guns. And they had heavy cruisers armed with Mark IV 9-inch guns. So that means I was 3 or 4 technologies behind. Yeah, that's a big gap to try to overcome. So keep that in mind. Don't use the fucking priorities. Now, technologies that matter the most, and that's the thing, is that it used to be back in the olden days, you would focus engines, hull strengthening, and big guns. You would just boom, 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 do that, and you were fucking good to go. You just left it basically the entire fucking game. You didn't have to worry about anything. You just built fucking dreadnoughts and you went fucking hog wild. Can't do that anymore. Now you have to kind of think about certain things, like, for example, armor quality being very important. The better the armor, the more survivable a ship is. Rangefinders, the more accurate a ship is, well, yeah, the base stats of some of these Mark 1 guns or Mark 2 or Mark 3s might suck, but if you have the rangefinders to compensate for it, well, you're gonna be having a better time than normal. And then, of course, newer hulls. Overall, again, the efficiency of hulls increases exponentially, especially once you get to 1920. 1920 and onwards, the hulls become so much more efficient that everything pre-1920 kind of goes out the window. You basically start replacing your entire fleet. So keep that in mind. Again, unfortunately, you really can't use priorities. If you do use priorities, you usually use one of them and you dance it around. So, like, for example, I want to get hull strengthening a couple months earlier so we can finish it out. And then, like, I can drop it on armor quality. Or hell, actually, it would be more efficient, for example, to take this point, put it onto armor quality, get the armor quality faster because it's cutting down even more time, and we can do it like that. Use one of the priorities if you must, because if we look here, we're increasing this by 1 month, we're increasing this by 1 month, and we're increasing this by a month. So this isn't like, and this is giving us a big drop overall of this time to develop the armor. And, nickel steel armor is, it's better. It is better than compound armor. So, again, keep that in mind across the board. Again, we've already talked about ship design. Let me go ahead and just build out a quick starting fleet, like just the stuff that I would start with personally for this campaign. So let me just do this real quick. Actually, don't do that. So again, this is for the Americans, right out of the gate. All right, and then can I do that? Okay, I can do that. Can I do? Nope. 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 So I got to go down a size here. Can I do that? Nope. I can do that. All right, there we go. All right, then let's go ahead, do up these funnels. Boom, boom, boom. Then again, rate of fire is king. And for these secondary batteries, oh, we can actually put 4-inch batteries on top of this. Can I put 5-inch batteries? Oh, I can. All right, fuck it, because we start with all shitty guns. So if something's gonna hit, I want it to do fucking damage. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Is it worth putting torpedoes on this thing? I guess we can. Just put some torpedoes on it. Yeah, we'll put 6 torpedo launchers on it, just in case something decides to get stupid and get close. I always run, for my battleships and my heavy cruisers, I always run standard ratio on my shells, and then I do increased HE otherwise for everything else. So then 10, 10, we'll leave that at 2, leave that at 2, we'll put these at 4, leave those at 4, put that at 2, increase that to 9.9. We have the tonnage, so we're going to increase those to 5.5. So just to explain damage thresholds and stat thresholds. So for 2-inch guns, going to 2.9 is perfectly viable, perfectly good. 3-inch guns, going to 3.9, max it out. It's good. 4-inch, 4.7 seems to be the best ratio. It's big enough that it does good damage. It's small enough that it doesn't truly affect the rate of fire too much. 4.7 seems to be the king. 5-inch, 5.5 is where I personally go to. Now, if we look at this real quick, we look at 5-inch, we manage 2.6 rounds a minute, and we have 9.0 kilometers for AP, 8.8 kilometers for HE. If we go to 5.5 real quick, we will see 9.1, 8.9, and then 2.3 rounds. We're not losing that much in terms of rounds, but we are getting a slight increase in range and overall damage. So, in my personal opinion, 5.5, that's where 5-inch really starts to benefit. 6-inch, I go to 6.1. Same thing with 7-inch and same thing with 8-inch. I don't personally believe that they truly benefit from increasing size too much on those. They're just not, I just don't think they benefit truly from it as much. Because they're already pretty hefty shells, and they already, like, I don't want to hurt the fire rate on them as much as possible. The reason why I go to 6.1, 8.1, 9.1, or 8, 6, 7, and 8.1s, the 0.1 seems to do enough to, like, certain marks of the guns, so like Mark 3 and above, putting it up 0.1 seems to give it a nice little increase of damage overall, so I like to just do that just to get a little extra damage out of it, but otherwise I don't go much bigger. In the case of main guns, so we only have 9 through 12 right now. We of course can unlock up to, I believe, 21-inch. 9-inch, 10-inch, and 11-inch, I will max out to 0.9 across the board. The reason being is because you're still getting some great rate of fire, but you're also getting a good increase to damage and range on both of these. I just believe it benefits a lot from that 0.9. 10.9, for example, 10.9 is kind of a really good round because it seems to be the best. Now, there is an argument for 11.9 being the best for stuff like merchant raiders and fast battle cruisers and like super heavy cruisers. There is an argument for 11.9, but 10.9 seems to be where like you get a lot of bang for buck. However, this is based on some conjecture between what I've seen and what I've played with. Your mileage may vary. You might get some more benefit out of the 11-inch. You might get some more benefit out of the 10-inch. Me personally, I'm really liking the 10.9s, especially for some weird heavy cruiser designs. But the 11.9s, I use those almost exclusively on my battle cruisers for nice hunter killer battle cruisers. 12-inch, I really don't use 12-inch. Personally, I don't believe 12-inch is as good as 13.5. 13.5 is fucking insane, by the way. 13.5 is my personal favorite. I think it's the best caliber for mainline battleship gun. You're getting good damage, good rate of fire, good overall stats in general. Like 13.5 is just fucking insane, and you unlock it pretty quickly. So that's my personal favorite. There you go. 12-inch, I just don't bother with it usually. Like I tend to not use it. Now, since I'm playing the Americans in this, I'm playing the Americans. I want to, be a little homage. I'll use 12-inch, but, just me personally, I like the 13.5. And no, I don't like the Brits. Fuck off. So, just personal opinions about gun caliber. Let's put Barbette 1 on there. Then we'll go ahead and increase the range a little bit. It's not going to have a lot of range because the funnel capacity is shit, but it is what it is. We can get a little more funnel capacity out of it with increased engines, but honestly speaking, these things aren't worth keeping around for too long, so it is what it is. Massachusetts, perfect name for this thing because it's little and it's a piece of shit. So there you go, Battleship. Then we're starting off with a torpedo cruiser. I do not start with Armor Cruiser 1 because you cannot max it out. Again, with these hulls, you want to max them out. That's my personal opinion, but my personal opinion seems to be, pretty well laid out in facts. You don't have to like it, but you gotta understand that, I've got 1,000 hours in this fucking bitch, and I fucking kind of know what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to be a dick when I say that, but it's like, yeah, no, it's there's a reason why I'm telling you the things I'm telling you. So, again, go ahead, just get this armor figured out, and then we're gonna real quick, what would be the better funnel to use efficiency wise? So that's 24 tons. That'd be 48 tons for 2.3. So if I go with these instead, actually, you know what? I think would these actually be the best ones? If I do 3 of these, would these be the best over 30? Oh, wait, what was that? 38.3, and that's for 93 tons. $32.3. Yeah, these engines are so ass. They're just so bad. But again, as previously spoken about, boom, boom, boom. It's a really shit fucking design and layout and whatnot. Like, there's nothing really you can do here. But, it is what it is. Throw that stuff on. Throw on the barbette. Having the barbette on these is actually really good. That's why I like going 5-inchers on these, because the barbette on these lighter cruisers actually helps a lot. It helps a lot. You don't blow your tops nearly as much. And again, we're decreasing the armor, and this is something that you'll encounter where you cannot have certain things in there like this, so you have to play around with it a little bit, like so. If I could select it, it'd be great. All right, there you go. So yeah, they're still able to shoot and everything, but they have to be orientated in a certain way to make it so they actually fit on there. But there you go, 5.5s, 3.9s, boom, 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 1,800 tons. Nice, cheap little. Oh yeah, and we have barbettes on here, so we can actually give it a barbette to protect it. So there you go, boom, boom, boom. Almost 10,000 kilometers in range. This is actually really great because again, you can send these fuckers out and kill transports with it really effectively. And then we have an armored cruiser design. Now, the problem is that you have two armored cruisers. You have the 3-mast armored cruiser, and then you have the armored cruiser 1. Which one is the better one to do? Well, frankly speaking, I like stability for my armored cruisers because I need fucking accuracy. And because our battleships are so fucking slow to begin with, we're going to make them the same speed. Alright, so I got interrupted by the baby, so sorry about that. But baby comes first, you guys come second. I love you all. Alright, let's just be quick and finish this up. So, again, oh, actually, we can't build this. Can we? Never mind, I'm stupid. I'm looking at this thinking it's a light cruiser. It's not. It's not a light cruiser. Which I guess actually this would be a better light cruiser than this. Actually, now I think about it. Huh. Okay. Well, actually, let's investigate that. So again, we put on the towers. I like to be cheeky with these towers, because I like to just keep them out of the way. Especially this front one. So then let's go ahead and just do a few dual funnels. We'll do 2. There we go. And then centerline guns. Oh, wow. This thing could do up to fucking 11-inch guns. That's insane to me. So generally speaking, I do 6-inch guns on my heavy cruisers this early. So we will do 6-inch guns just to keep it nice and concise. And then secondary guns, we can do 5-inch guns for these, which we will most certainly do. And then, so I honestly, do I want to do that? Do I want to do that? I kind of want to do it. It doesn't really include the rear turret, but that would include the forward turret. So, yeah, so there you go. And then, oh, wait, we could put, oh, yes, we could put 5-inch guns in those casements. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, I love that shit. That's that good shit right there. Put on a torpedo just for when the enemy decides to get too close for, you're pretty close for somebody within mouth smacking range. And then, of course, standard ratio, increased HE. And then armor-wise, what can we 5.5 inches of good, but we can't really accommodate it. So let's make sure we see what we can do. Let's do our values that we want. Okay, we'll do 5, 1, 1, 4. We actually have armor on this bitch, so we can actually put armor on the fucking guns. Let's do 4, 1. Actually, you know what? We'll do 4 with a maxed out barbette, and then okay. So we're still a little on the heavy side. So maybe just maybe we gotta rethink the strategy a little bit. Maybe we reduce some guns. We still got plenty of guns. Okay, so we have those guns. Guns. What if we reduce armor a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here? Okay, yeah, okay, boom, there we go. Okay, so we have figured it out. There you go. 3-mast with dual 6-inch guns, and can we move this forward slightly? Yes, we can. Dual 6-inch guns and a bunch of 5-inch guns to boot, and yeah, that's not a friendly ship right there. And it's got decent enough armor for what we needed to do. We needed to just fucking prevent the enemy from getting too close to our big ships, because our CLs, we'll have a couple of them with the fleet, but nothing major. Oh wait, don't yeah okay, there we go. Offset, fucking offsets. But yeah, there you go. Boom. There's a heavy cruiser. So now you're covered on all your bases. Now, if you want to do a 250 or 275 torpedo boat, whatever you want to do, let's do a 250. You can do this. I don't recommend doing this. I wait until I have 500 unlocked, and then you can really play around with it. You can really play with this. There's a lot of things you can do with a 500-ton torpedo boat. It's pretty fun. It's pretty good. I wait until I have 500 tons. That's just my personal take. And 28 knots. Yeah, I'll just show you off a standard 500-ton torpedo boat, because I enjoy torpedo boats. You guys have seen my torpedo boat shenanigans. You know what I do with torpedo boats. I like to do 3-inch guns because guns. And yes, I am saying that on purpose for any Europeans that don't understand. It's an inside joke for us Americans. If you don't need to understand it, just know that I will continue doing it. And then, of course, we really can't do anything, but we can make these bitches 3.9s. Because there's nothing like a fucking torpedo boat that can hurt a fucking light cruiser. And it can hurt it a lot. And I enjoy hurting things a lot. So this is also something you can do. But again, you have to wait until you have 500 tons. So I don't recommend making a torpedo boat this early, personally speaking. Wait until you have 500 tons. That's just my personal take. But yeah, so there you go. We've got our starting fleet. Now, at this point in time, what I would recommend doing is I would build let's do 6. Let's do 6 battleships. We'll do 3 on each side of the nation. So we'll do 3 in New York. We'll do 3 in Western USA. It's San Francisco is the big one. And then for our CL, or for our heavy cruisers, because these are what are going to accompany the fleet, we can only produce 8 max. That's literally the maximum number we can build. So we'll go ahead and we'll build fucking 8 of the bastards. We'll stick them in there, and that should give us a decent size fleet for each seaboard, and that will come out to 83,000 tons in the shipbuilding queue. We have a fuck ton of money that we're spending. Boom, there we go. Start the game real quick just to build those, and now our total tonnage as it starts 80,000 tons. We've got 40,000 and 40,000. Boom, boom, boom. We have 40,000 tons on each seaboard with 2 main battle groups. We can build smaller cruiser squadrons for supplemental, but these are our main punching fleets that we will grow as time goes on. But, there you go. So, just general overview of things to come. I will be doing a series in which we let's reduce this back down to 25%. I will be doing a small series where we actually talk about these things in earnest, and we will go from there. So yeah, queue up your shipyards. We'll cover more of this stuff later. But, so on and so forth. And then, of course, shit, I just realized our fucking, oh, wow, we're going to be bankrupt real quick. But, hey, it is what it is. Anyways, guys, this will be a 3-part series, I think. Yeah, 3-part. Yeah, I think that works. So I will catch you guys later. That a little slap bang together, but we fucks with it. Love you guys. Talk to you later.